Friday edition of Twister Talk. I'm Gary.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're bringing you updates on what's happening with the fires in Los Angeles, but also a pretty massive area of winter weather moving through the southeast United States, and we'll be talking about that. But let's go ahead and give you a rundown real quick on what's happening in Los Angeles at this hour. Firefighters are hoping that they're getting a bit of a break from the fierce winds today that have fueled massive blazes in the LA area, killing 10 people now, obliterating whole neighborhoods and setting the nation's second largest city on edge. Thursday afternoon, the Kenneth Fire started in San Fernando Valley. It moved into the neighboring Ventura County, but a large and aggressive response by firefighters stopped the flames from spreading. Fire containment as of Friday morning, Palisades Fire near the coast was 6% contained. The Eaton Fire north of Pasadena was still at 0%. That's the largest fire. The Hearst Fire just south of the Santa Clarita was 37% contained. The Kenneth Fire in San Fernando Valley is 35% contained. 180,000 people are still have been evacuated and still no noise of when they can go back to their homes. National Guard troops are on the ground in Altadena. They're patrolling the streets of Altadena before dawn on Friday after being called in to help protect property in the fire evacuation zone. Troops in camouflage were posted at intersections of the city hard hit by the Eaton Fire near Jeeps, Humvees, and other military vehicles. At least 20 arrests have been made for looting and other thefts in the area where the fire raged. LA County officials say they plan to put an overnight curfew in place that would make it easier to make arrests. So that's the latest from there. Brandon, still though, as we look at that this morning, it's not. They're starting some headway, but let's face it, it's going to be a while before they get everything under control. And we'll talk about the weather that will play a hand in a second. But it's tragic what's happened. A lot of people have lost everything.
Yeah, I've been following some of the news coming out of LA County here the last couple of days now on this. And, some of the pictures I'm seeing, they almost look like something out of a movie. And I don't mean to, melodramatize or hyperbolize here too much. This is now being billed as the costliest wildfire in California's history and probably also the nation's history at this point. And unfortunately, these fires still, as you said, they're really not contained.
Right.
They were dealing with those Santa Ana winds, which were fanning these flames. And that's not the only issue that they were having. Right. There have been some issues with capability and resources that have further hampered their abilities and efforts to contain these fires. Right. I'm sure by now many people have heard the news story about the fire hydrants running dry, possibly because of some water management issues that left insufficient reserves available for firefighting. And not only that, there have been some reports of possible issues with resources and capabilities with some of the firefighters, either maybe not being where they needed to be or not having the right tools or capabilities on hand to really effectively deal with this situation. Right. So, this is going to go down as a major event, and we can certainly hope and pray for everyone that's affected by it, and hope that when this is all over, that maybe some changes will be made that might put them in a little better position in the future.
Yeah. You want to always, it's an awful thing to say, but true, you really need to learn what you can from each disaster like that. You need to learn what works and what doesn't work. And that's not pointing fingers. That's just true for everything. You have to learn and you have to grow from what's happening. And, with severe weather events that have happened over the last dozen years with hurricanes and tornadoes, well, you had tragic events, but they learn something from each of these situations about how to be better prepared and better forecasting tools down the road. And that's a very good point about that. They're going to have to take a hard look at how resources were managed and dispatched during all this. That's what's happening in California. But the other big story today, and we've been talking about that before we went on the air, is Brandon, there's probably as many winter storm warnings as I've seen in a while across a good part of the United States, from Oklahoma and Texas all the way to your neck of the woods.
Yes, I'm just looking at the map graphic here from the National Weather Service, and we've got winter storm warnings. There are, things like freezing rain warnings, and they're stretching from, like you said, the northeastern parts of Texas, eastern parts of Oklahoma, stretching all the way up as far as into southern Michigan and all across the southeast and many parts of the Midwest as well.
Now, Brandon, the possibilities of freezing rain through a good part of the Carolinas varies from under a tenth of an inch to a little bit more of a tenth of an inch, which is, again, not insignificant. But the thing is, as the day goes on, you move in the evening, that will turn over completely to snow. Maybe 1 to 2 inches in a lot of the Carolinas, but honestly not a lot where you guys live. But still, that can still make for some treacherous driving into the overnight and even early morning hours on Saturday.
Yes, it certainly can. Just looking at some graphics here on snowfall percentages. What I'm looking at is how much of a chance various parts of the country have of receiving an inch or more of snow. And for the most part, the heaviest snow is confined further west of the Carolinas into places like western Tennessee, southwest Kentucky, southernmost Illinois, southeastern Missouri, and northeast Arkansas have the highest chances of sustaining heavier snowfalls.
Right.
Moving east over the Appalachians and into Georgia, the Carolinas, and the eastern parts of Virginia, the snowfall chances decrease. So the Appalachian chain going to kind of do its job a little bit there of drying out some of the precipitation. Now, the freezing rain possibility graphic here is a little bit different. That is stretched more directly across the southeastern U.S. Through southern Kentucky, pretty much all of North Carolina, all of South Carolina, the northern halves of Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, and even into southern Arkansas.
Right.
All of those areas are looking at least some possibility of freezing rain.
Right.
Now, the heaviest concentration or the highest probabilities seem to be centered over the central Carolinas through northern Georgia.
Right.
So people in those areas are going to want to be more on the lookout for a slight glazing or accumulation of ice than anything else.
And Brandon, you mentioned a good thing about the snowfall because, some places are going to get some are not going to get anything. And I thought we'd take a quick rundown in places around your area. We're looking, if I check in on what's happening, let's say in Alabama now, winter storm warning in Alabama because of a little part of the northern part of the state. Heavy mixed precipitation, snow and sleet of 1 to 2 inches, and ice accumulations up to 0.2 of an inch in basically northern Alabama. And that'll go on until the winter storm warnings for your area and many other areas go until 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. By then, temperatures will start rising above freezing, and most places in that area that are below freezing today will be in the 40s tomorrow. That will help take care of that'll help do the melting issues so life gets back to normal a little quicker. But, I even look at what's happening. Like if I look at what's happening like in Tennessee, this is interesting to read that because it tells me Tennessee, significant snows are going to be a problem. Here's what's going on. A winter storm warning for a good part of central and northern Tennessee and southern Tennessee. Basically, the whole state goes till 6 a.m. Saturday morning. Brandon, and this is going to be wild. Music City, USA could get up to 4 to 8 inches of snow between now and Saturday morning. It's like, man, that's a lot. And they don't usually get this heavy of snow. They usually 2 to 4 inches, so they're going to have an issue with that and freezing rain. But I'm just pointing that out. A lot of places, Brandon, all over the South right now, the central part of the southern U.S. is going to get some form of winter precipitation. And fortunately, the good thing about it, most areas will be above freezing tomorrow, and that will cause some melting. Of course, it'll drop below freezing tomorrow night, and things will refreeze, but you'll get several days of sunshine and weather with temps in the 40s and even low 50s as we get into next week, and that will help take care of a lot of the mess that may be out there now. But still, Brandon, we've had 2 pretty nasty winter storms move through in the last 10 days, and they have not been insignificant. They have caused a lot of issues.
Yes, they have. And, I'm looking at these graphics again here, and unfortunately, folks in western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, some of those places that have already seen more than their fair share of natural disaster within the last year are going to be getting the possibilities of both snowfall and freezing rain or sleet fall. So
Brandon, that's a quick overview about what's happening fire-wise, snow-wise, and freezing rain-wise. Anything you want to add to the conversation?
Well, I've got to say 2025 has certainly started out with a bang here. Not only do we now have the wildfires out in California that are having an effect on so many people, but we have the second winter storm that is now affecting parts of the country, including parts of the country that are still recovering from when Helene came through.
Right.
And many of those people, like we've pointed out, they're now living in tents or cabins or makeshift shelters, which is already hard enough to deal with losing everything, but now freezing in the process. So we certainly have an interesting beginning to 2025.
That's being nice.
Yes, it is, and I think a lot of people, especially in the Appalachians, will be very happy that so far next week is looking to be, if cold, a little bit quieter.
Right, and you can handle the cold. It's just getting out of the precipitation path for a few days. It looks like most of next week will be just like that. It'll be cold, but it will be sunny, and temperatures will slowly recover, but it will also mean that nothing will be knocking on the door, at least for 10 days. That's welcomed. There is a big storm that will impact the West Coast later in the week next week, but it'll take its time getting this far to the east. So hopefully people get some well-deserved breathers to do that. Again, our thoughts and prayers to people in the Appalachians, the people everywhere in the South, because they're getting hit with more freezing rain and snow, and places that don't get snow all that often are picking up several inches of it today. I am blown away by some of the storm totals for Tennessee and parts of northern Alabama, from 2 to 4 inches all the way up to 8 inches in some areas. That's going to be kind of crazy, make for a wild weekend. And we still have the fire situation out there in California. It looks like that will the winds will be more abating the next couple of days, may pick up a little stronger winds, but next week the winds shift to offshore. Basically, the winds will be coming in from the Pacific, and you know what that means. A little cooler air, a little more moisture in the air. There'll be some scattered rain, but I wouldn't hold hopes for a deluge of any kind in that area. But again, it's been crazy. 2024 was interesting, and like you said, 2025 has kicked down the door and said, I'm here to visit. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So hopefully...
it's like 2024 was an eventful year enough, and so far it looks like 2025 is saying, hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer, because we got more going on. It's like, and the one thing most people do not need is that. But anyway, that's where we're at with everything, and all I can say, folk, wherever you are, just, again, be smart, be cautious, be safe in the Southeast. Freezing rain is something you don't want to get caught in doing, trying to drive in that. If you can't, you can stay off the roads, stay off the roads. For the rest of everybody, just sit back, enjoy the weekend, watch your football games, whatever in the playoffs. California, you're in our thoughts and prayers, and let's hope that everything settles down a little more. For Twister Talk, I'm Gary.
And I'm Brandon.
All right, you have a good weekend, folks.